I wanted to explain about contingent offers. People throw this term around, and I understand why they do, but I want to be a little bit more specific because there's really two different kinds of contingencies. There's three layers of them. One is when you put in an offer, and I'm not talking about all contingencies in this. Let me take a step back. Like there's inspection contingency and financing contingency. So we use this word a lot, but if you just generally say, is this a contingent offer? Usually what people are talking about is it contingent upon the sale of another property. So when you're making an offer, what the seller likes to see, and therefore makes your offer more competitive, is that it's not contingent at all. Because if it is contingent, they are taking on the risk of what we call the underlying transaction. So if you're trying to sell your house and buy one, and you put in an offer where you're not going to buy those unless yours is sold, then the seller is understanding that if something happens to yours, something happens to theirs too. So that just maybe is fine. But know that if you're in a competing offer situation, you're competing against somebody that doesn't have that, you're going to be at a disadvantage, right? So that's part of why I want to talk about that as we talk through this in the zero houses, no houses conversation. The other kind of contingent offer, kind of the next level up, is it's contingent upon the close. So what this means is that you have a house that you need to sell, but it's already under contract. So again, getting back to these pressure points, if you have yours under contract and they've already had their inspections, then yes, there's still a level of risk to the seller, but at least you can go to them and say, listen, yes, it still needs to close, but we've passed the pressure points. So it's not as risky as you might think. That's an easier thing to sell than it just went under contract yesterday. We're kind of hoping it all works out, right? Does that make sense? So the deeper you get into that, to that transaction, the less risk there is for the next party. The third level is contingent upon both the sale and the close. This would be, you put an offer in, your house is either not under contract or not even on the market yet. What that is nothing, really. The seller is still able to take any other offer. So if it's contingent upon both the sale and the close, then it's not binding on them at all. So I really discourage people from going that direction unless it's a really like specialty house that we don't think anybody else would like for whatever reason. It can work in special situations, or we can convince sometimes the seller, give us 5 days, something short like that. But they're often not very willing. So what it becomes is a race to the finish line. So we just want to bear that in mind. It really is, if you do have to sell first before you buy, it really is best to have that thing under contract before you're shopping. Otherwise, your offers are effectively meaningless.